Hello, sorry for our tardiness. Our executive session ran a little bit late. I'd like to call the meeting of the Tucson Unified School District Governing Board to order. Roll call, please.
Dr. Ravi?
Here.
Ms. Luna Rose?
Here.
Ms. Shaw? Mr. Romero?
Here.
Ms. Ekstrom?
Here. Next, we'll move on to our land acknowledgement statement and our Pledge of Allegiance. Today we have Adam Eunice. He's in the 3rd grade at Cragen Elementary School. Adam is a 3rd grade student at Cragen Elementary. He loves to do anything with vehicles, from race cars to monster trucks. Adam also loves comic books. What's your favorite comic book character? Do you have one, Adam?
It's Dog Man.
Oh, very cool. Well, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start with our land acknowledgement statement.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present our land acknowledgement and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. On behalf of the Governing Board of Tucson Unified School District, I, Adam Eunice, acknowledge that the schools, buildings, and facilities of TUSD reside on the ancestral homeland of the Tohono O'odham Nation in the federally recognized tribal land of the Pasayaki tribe.
Thank you, Adam. That was perfect.
Please.
Give him a round of applause. Now, if you could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Adam, whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I hope you have a great 3rd grade.
He memorizes better than I do. Good job.
Next is agenda adjustments. Dr. Trujillo.
President Ekstrom, members of the governing board, I'd like to pull item 8.1 from the agenda this evening.
Great, thank you. Next is awards and recognitions. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, President Ekstrom, members of the governing board, I am extremely excited about tonight's awards and recognition because we have an opportunity to hear from perhaps the crown jewel of the Tucson Unified School District is its fine and performance artists across all of our wonderful district, whether it's OMA, whether it's our traditional performance arts programs like dance and orchestra and band and jazz band, or our visual arts classes with art and ceramics. It is just such an amazing display of talent. The students and the art that they create, whether artistically or through the performance arts. So here to give the State of the Arts address, I'd like to welcome our Director for Fine Arts to kick us off, Joan Ashcraft, and then there's going to follow with a very, very special treat this evening. Dr. Ashcraft.
Thank you. Good evening, governing board members, President Ekstrom. Thank you. Dr. Trujillo and Mr. Ross. As part of the district's Triple Crown, teachers are receiving professional development and success criteria this year. Engagement. That makes a difference. Engagement is a focus point for this training and a necessity in fine arts classes. We strive to instill passion and perseverance to help students achieve academically while finding joy and purpose in life. I am grateful for the varied talents and strong work ethic of our central staff, our performing visual arts and OMA teachers who provide inspiring lessons that demonstrate student engagement while developing their artistic skills. The following slides share achievements and recognitions attained by some of our staff and some of our high schools in the past year. This year, 7,300 high school students are enrolled in various fine arts classes. Along with our middle school arts and OMA programs, we have achieved the 12th consecutive year as the best community for music education. Sharing with you just some of the recognitions and awards, just as a reminder from what we talked about at last board meeting, you approved the district, regional, and state festivals that our students will attend. Our high schools participate in many music concerts and thespian competitions, while also presenting a variety of music and dramatic presentation to children, classmates, and our community. Our students often win scholarships focused on performing or visual arts. This picture is a reprint of one of Lily Figueroa's Art Seal submissions. Lily just happens to be the daughter of Principal Jennifer Figueroa at Whitmore Elementary. Tonight, I'd like to recognize two exceptional teachers, and you'll see why when I talk about them. The first is Kimberly Grosvenor, who has been in this district as an elementary teacher for, I believe it was 13 years. Good. She teaches in 4 elementaries, all of the 4th grade children violin, and 5th and 6th grade students for those K-6 schools, instructing a total of 366 students throughout the year. She says of herself, "My love of music motivates me to teach. I want to inspire younger students to learn how to play and continue. I started violin in 4th grade, and over the years learned about teamwork, perseverance, and made lifelong friends by being part of musical groups. I would love my students to experience the same things that I did." I thought you'd like to see the kind of schedule she holds. This is her daily schedule. Each color represents a different school in which she travels to many times 4 different sites a day, reaching all 366 students. Additionally, she has taken on one of the K-6 schools above her assignment in order that we have instruction in all the schools. Thank you very much, Kim. And I would also like to recognize Jack Taylor. He's a professional saxophonist. I think Mr. Ross also plays saxophone, if I'm correct. And he's a music educator, of course. Mr. Taylor was the Sabino band director for 3 years and is now teaching elementary band at 4 schools, including one of our K-6 schools. Jack says this: "Instrumental music ensembles are a community where students feel safe, respected, and valued while exercising generosity by sharing their knowledge with each other." Along with his full-time assignment, this is what I wanted to recognize tonight, he has agreed to oversee the Pueblo High School marching band since no certified band director could be found. Principal R says of him in a text to me, "You should have seen my kids. I wanted to cry with them when they heard the news that Mr. Taylor wanted to help us. It broke me." Jack teaches 270 students each week. So my deepest gratitude goes to Kimberly and Jack Taylor for their outstanding work and the additional assignments they have taken on for us this year. Thank you both. Thank you. Briefly, I wanted to share with you that we often take our inspiration from visiting artists. Some of you may know the University of Arizona poet, who is a bilingual poet, performer, and DJ. He is in residence with us this year. Working in poetry and culture, he holds collaboration as a core creative element. He says, "Poetry is holding the center, not hiding in the margins. We construct our world through words." 76 of our students received the Arizona Seal of Arts Proficiency in May. Their capstone projects were evaluated through oral exams by practicing artists and arts educators. Exemplary projects were then put into a video to appear on Arizona Department of Education's website to be model programs for other districts. This is a list of our wonderful 76 students. I didn't put their schools on there to get it all in one slide. One of our previous SEAL recipients, Rory Bricka, returned to Tucson in April to conduct the TUSD music staff at the superintendent's concert. His SEAL composition was based on the Salem witch trials. A graduate of UHS and a former member of the band there, he now is enrolled at Yale University. So tonight, I would like to share with you, and Kim, if you would help me, we have two major grants that have come to us this year. I think I'll talk about, just stay right there, but I'm going to talk about the first one that comes from the Jewish Community Foundation. For the second year in a row, an anonymous donor has given us $19,000 for art and music supplies. This has been especially helpful in the year when the budget has been trimmed a little bit more. So we're very grateful for that gift. And now Kim is holding the second donation, which is from Vicki Gotkin. She was a graduate of Rincon High School and was a lawyer by profession. This 1949 handcrafted Italian violin is an example of exceptional craftsmanship and historic significance. Ms. Gotkin wishes to provide access to this symphony-quality instrument for a student's musical journey. And by the way, she's watching with live stream tonight with her husband. The instrument will be presented to a worthy high school junior to be used during the summer preceding the junior-senior year and throughout the junior year. It will be presented during the superintendent's concert. The musician will be identified through musical talent, dedication, and character. The instrument will be reassigned yearly to celebrate a student's dedication to the arts. Thank you, Kim. And for our final recognition, I'm very proud to announce the $2 million endowment that the Gene Jones family has given to TUSD for the continuation of the OMA program. Briefly about Gene. He was a World War II B-24 pilot, businessman, and lifelong lover of the arts. He channeled his personal resources to revolutionize education, energize teachers, and empower children to become creative problem solvers. Beginning in the year 2000, he participated with TUSD, the University of Arizona, and professional arts organizations to develop OMA, addressing brain-based learning, collaboration with and participation by classroom teachers, and relevant arts integration with core curriculum. OMA's U.S. Department of Education grants provided research on OMA's impact on academic achievement, social growth, and teacher effectiveness. Nationally recognized, OMA is credited with mitigating the impact of poverty and the lack of English proficiency for our students. From 3 original research grants, OMA is now in all non-magnet elementary schools at various levels, of course. Students and teachers have benefited from this research and the financial support through Gene's contributions, community tax credits that have been amazing as we began the program, and most recently, the commitment of TUSD funding. Gene, who once accompanied Eleanor Roosevelt across the Pacific in his plane, who rescued several failing companies and benefited many arts organizations, was happiest when seated amidst young children who were discovering the joy and power of the arts. Honoring Gene and his wife, Ruth, the family has established a $2 million endowment for OMA to ensure that the original intent of OMA model lives on in perpetuity. In the near future, we will request that the board approve this endowment to ensure OMA's place within the curriculum, empowering children, impacting their outlook, and improving their chances to succeed in life through the arts has profoundly changed all of our lives, and this district in particular. Our children define his legacy. So now for the little surprise. Outside we have the Sabino Marching Band. They are under the direction of, remember I said Jack Taylor was their director for a while. Now it is Jesselyn Feller, and it's conducted by their drum major, Jared Olson. The band will play music from the first part of their 2025 marching band show entitled Bent. Then the second selection you hear will be a spectacular drum cadence. they will conclude with their school song. I invite you to go outside and listen to the band. like you to meet Dr. Trujillo, wherever he might be, and our board members. We'd like to take a picture of you all. So Kevin, do you want to direct on, where's Kevin? Kevin, could you direct how you want them to stand, please?
All right, how about one more round of applause for the amazing Sabercat Band? We also tonight, as part of the Superintendent's Awards and Recognitions, wanted to kick off the school year with a brief update on all the amazing work that's gone into our CTE programs to get them ready, particularly those programs that received some much-needed renovations and equipment that came in over the summer. And what you can look forward to this fall is an alternating schedule of our amazing performance arts students, as well as some demonstrations from some of our CTE programs in some upcoming meetings this fall. But for now, I'd like to introduce Chuck McCollum to take us through here the opening of schools for CTE.
Okay, good evening, board members, President Ekstrom, board members, Superintendent Trujillo, Councilor Ross. Our CTE programs had a great year last year. I'm not going to lie to you. We accomplished very many spectacular things, and we're carrying them into this school year. Our achievements last year, we improved our overall student performance in key CTE and CCRI, which is a part of the letter grade performance measures. Our graduation rate among CTE completers, that's the cohort of 2024, was a graduation rate of 95%, which is a 4% increase over school year 24. Our technical skill assessments, which is our state mandated exam, which also counts towards school letter grades, was at 77.9%, which was also an increase of 5% over last year. Our industry recognized credentials were at 80.3%, again an increase of 5%. Our reading proficiency, because we don't just concentrate on just what's going on CTE-wise, we also look at how we can help our students in some of their other core classes. So we kind of spend a majority of our time working on reading strategies. Our proficiency was 30.9%, which is an increase of 2.5%. And then non-traditional, which are students, for example, female students who take automotive. That's non-traditional in industry. We had an increase of 3.7% from school year 24. One of the most exciting things that happened last year was our monitoring by the Arizona Department of Education. That was a 2.5-year period, which I will tell you is time I will never get back in my life, okay? But 44 of our programs were recognized as being distinguished. That's the highest honor we could get from the state of Arizona. 16 programs were recognized as proficient. All 60 of our programs were found to be in compliance, and none of our programs were found to be basic. We also conducted some staff and faculty development. We held 17 professional development workshops, 3 district PLD days, and they were centered around what our curriculum and instruction team is putting together, which is teacher clarity, okay? It's part of what everybody's doing, but we took it to heart, brought in special folks to talk to our teachers and to get them going. They did a great job. As you know, in CTE, any of you on the board could be a teacher, but it's more than just qualifying from the instructional technical skill category that you worked and you were a doctor, for example. You still got to stand in front of 30 kids and teach. So we have to know you're not going to do that, though. But we do get folks that come from the industrial world but have no pedagogical background. So when we start with a welding teacher, we have to teach them how to be a teacher. And that's how we start working with pedagogical practices. And then again, last year we worked a lot on our ADE monitoring. This year our goals are very simple: retention, recruitment, and engagement. And that is what we'll work on. We had our first PD today with 7 automotive teachers, and that was what we worked on this time around, and we'll continue to work on. Growth. Right now, our CTE programs duplicated enrollment and expenditures for school year 2026 We have 60 duplicated programs and 73 instructors in our CTE department. Right now, we sit at 7,258 duplicated students, and that is just in high school. I think we run about 14,000 high school students, so we're sitting about 50% of our high school students take a CTE program. Capital expenditures. One thing I will tell you is that CTE programs are not cheap, okay? For us to replace something, you're looking at somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. We spent $802,000 basically on capital expenditures. That's going into programs this year, okay? We also spent about $523,000 on supplies and instructional aids in supporting our program. So we dropped somewhere, 1.3, 1.4 million on just supplies and capital improvements for our folks and for our programs. We've had a lot of expansion. We had to increase our Choya Sports Medicine program by 5 programs. That gives them a total of 11 at Choya. You will see them in a couple board meetings. They're going to present to you, okay? Bioscience at Tucson High, we are now up to 12 sections. We had to increase by 6 this year. Palo Verde, their film and TV program increased by 1 section. This is interesting. Choya and Bricta Early Childhood. Now, we have a partnership with our early learning childhood centers. I have to be honest with you, we can't teach kids how to do things correctly in early childhood carrying around babies with batteries. We need to be around real children. So we partnered with those two both at Choya High School and Bricta, and then you'll see at the bottom Saguaro and Shoemaker. We have 2 sections. Kids go over there for 2 periods a day, okay? And they work with the teachers at Bricta and the teachers at Shoemaker. They're actually in a classroom. So they're getting hands-on experience with kids. They're going to earn their paraprofessional certificate and hopefully maybe go into early childhood. Saguaro Culinary had to expand 1 section. They're now at 6. This is a new program we put in, Catalina ELD Culinary. Okay, if you go over to Catalina, there'll be 2 sections that are going to be focused on our ELL students. Okay, it was my thought when I met with the principal at Catalina, it's not good enough that we just teach kids English. We need to teach them a skill. So we took their biggest program, which is culinary, and that is geared to our ELD students. It is a little slower paced as they learn the terminology, and they're able to, for any of you, Mr. Romero, you maybe know this, that have been in a kitchen, the chef isn't very silent. He's screaming from the other side of the room. They can make and cut a tomato into 20 different things, but they had a hard time understanding what he was saying or she was saying. So we put this program in to give them a better skill set and learn a skill they can go into direct employment or take beyond, okay? We also ended up opening a brand new program at Pueblo High School, an engineering program. When we open a CTE program, we basically look at about 2 sections, okay, freshmen, that we could build and move to 5 a couple years down the road. This at Pueblo opened with 4 sections, okay? We've got a brand new teacher there. He's got some great ideas. He pulls them off. It's going to be outstanding over there at Pueblo High School. So we're really excited about our growth. We're seeing a lot of interest from our students, and we think we can move on to bigger and better things. As far as what we've done in the classroom, computers, technology, equipment refresh. We use a different interactive board. We do not use a Promethean. We use what's called a new line. We use that because you can hit it with a hammer and it won't break. Okay, and in our world that makes more sense. Okay, we replaced them at Pueblo Home Health Program and Pueblo and Tucson High Magnet Bioscience programs. Our automotive programs was, and this was in conjunction with the bond. We got some money from the bond, and we were able to purchase 2 cars per program. That's huge because donated cars that we used to live on all have carburetors. Okay, that's a thing of the past. So we needed to go out and look, and with a partnership with Jim Click Automotive, we were able to get 2 cars per program, and then we were able to buy instructional aids like you see in the upper left-hand corner. We need to move our industrials to more of a state-of-the-art so that our kids can leave with the skills needed to move into that industry. We did straight computer lab refreshes at Pueblo and Saguaro. I will tell you we are moving all to Macs in all of our programs. We do that for 2 reasons. One, they're safer. Okay, they're hard to get into. And 2, as we move into the world of AI, they are more readily fit without having to pull a computer out and put a new one in. They're readily fit to move in that direction. Okay? We upgraded the freezers at both Saguaro and Santa Rita Culinary. And this is the big one. Classroom remodels are not easy. We firmly believe that when a parent walks into a CTE classroom, they better be amazed. It can't look like a regular classroom. It's got to look like, oh, wow, my kid's in this class. So we did classroom remodels, Total Pueblo Engineering, which you'll see in the upper right-hand corner. That's their computer lab. Tucson High Magnet Bioscience in the lower right-hand corner. And Choya Sports Medicine, we put in a whole new lab there for the 5 extra sections. And then Catalina Culinary, Santa Rita Culinary Conference Room. I think you've all been there at one time or another. The principal and I didn't like it, so we repainted it, put up some new pictures, and just upgraded it so when we bring in folks, they're impressed with not only TUSD, but with Santa Rita High School. Okay, so we've done some great things over this last summer. It was very busy for us. We'll continue in the fall. We are in the process of identifying expansion of programs at certain sites. We're not quite there yet, so I don't want to say quite what they are, but we're starting to look in that mode. So I think you should be very proud of what goes on in your CTE programs here in Tucson Unified School District. You know, I like to always say it this way: we are the real deal. We're preparing kids for what they need, whether it be direct employment, post-secondary, military. We're preparing our kids for those options. So if you have any questions for me, I tried to keep this quick. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm done.
We're good. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
McCollum.
Wow, over 7,200 high school students taking a CTE course, over 50% of the 9 through 12 population in TUSD enrolled in a CTE program. That is a dramatic increase from the 30 or so percent of students that took CTE courses back in 16, 17. So it's been a wonderful 10-year journey. And of course, I want to credit also Pima County JTED for strongly investing in us as well in our satellite programs. A couple more items just to round out the awards and recognitions before we move into board business tonight. We want to recognize our finance department for its financial reporting. TUSD has been awarded the ASBO, Arizona School Business Officials International Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year 2024's annual comprehensive financial report. It represents the collaborative efforts of a dedicated finance team whose work ensures that every dollar of the public's money is thoughtfully stewarded to support students, staff, and schools across the district. To my good friend Chris Edwards, the owner of Tucson Appliance Company, he has donated one more time to the Tucson Unified School District, this time to Mary Meredith. He made a direct and meaningful difference in their life skills classroom. This contribution supports hands-on learning and real-world skill development, helping students prepare for more independent and successful futures. We extend our sincere thanks to the Tucson Appliance Company for their commitment to exceptional education and to the Educational Enrichment Foundation for connecting them to the Mary Meredith community. This is not the first time that Mr. Edwards has donated appliances to TUSD schools, whether they're refrigerators, microwaves, washing machines. We are one day going to get him in here. He's very humble. He doesn't necessarily like all the public recognition, but he is a wonderful supporter of our schools. Mr. Edwards also was a regular getting out and walking for our old Steps to Success and trying to get students back in school. So one more time, thank you, Tucson Appliance Company. Tucson Subaru, I want to give them a shout out. I'm excited to highlight their support and their investment in Choya. Earlier this week, reps from the dealership visited Choya to personally deliver supply kits and $500 gift cards to a lucky 20 teachers on Choya's campus. This marks the second year of their partnership in support of Choya, and their generosity and support for public education is deeply appreciated. These resources, of course, are going to help teachers create more engaging experiences for students, as well as being better and more well-equipped to foster better and more exciting learning environments. And then lastly, in the world of sports medicine, I want to thank Banner Sports Medicine for their recent $2,500 donation to Santa Rita, their high school girls flag football program. As interest in flag football continues to grow across the district and Pima County, this support helps provide the equipment, the uniforms, and the resources needed to ensure that our student athletes have equitable access to the sport. And with the help of community partners like Banner and the Arizona Interscholastic Association, we are working to expand opportunities for student athletes to build confidence, teamwork, and school pride through their participation in interscholastic athletics. President Ekstrom, members of the governing board, that concludes awards and recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. I just wanted to recognize Hensley Mendeville from Miles Exploratory Learning Center, K through 8. Thank you for coming and doing the pledge and sign. I didn't actually know that you were going to be here, but I do appreciate you doing that. Do you want to do it for us again? It's up to you. Let's do it again. Come on. I don't think a lot of people have seen it and sign. Huh? This way. Or you can do it this way. Yeah, that way they can see you. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Hensley. Next, we'll move on to board member activity reports. Governing board members, who would like to go first?
Okay, well, I'll go.
Okay, Ms. Luna Rose.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Just a few items, since school has really just kind of now really kicked into gear. I last week attended the Student Council, the Arizona Association of Student Councils hosted at Sabino High School, and I was invited by AP teacher and student council advisor Sarah Smith. There were schools, high school student councils from all across, not just USD, but from across southern Arizona that came to Sabino to it was their annual conference. And there was a couple hundred students. They were all dressed up in different costumes to represent what the theme was and their school. There was a lot of excitement and it was really loud. Dr. Trujillo was there as well. And I was a student council member at one time, so it was exciting to be there. And I also got a nice tour. The libraries Sabino has a wonderful library. It's got a meditation room. Definitely a place that I myself would love to go and sit and hang out. And I'd like to thank Principal Kevin Amadon and especially Teresa Durazo, who's the AP that was kind enough to kind of show me around and give me a little bit of history of what they were doing. And I also got to see they were getting ready to lay down the rock, I guess the ground for the turf. So they were there, and they had just put up the new, not lights, but the scoreboard. So that is going to lead into my next thing, which is more on a parent end. I volunteered several times, and I will continue to keep volunteering this season with the Rincon University Marching Band. I also attended Rincon's open house. So thank you to Miss Welch for and her teachers and her team there. It was a great and I think well-attended open house. And even though technically Sabina would be our competition as a Rincon parent, they did a great job. But I know every high school's got their first upcoming football game this Friday. So if you have nothing to do and want to go see a football game somewhere across the district, I suggest you go do that. Rincon is just down the street, and they're playing Cibola at 7 p.m. And you can see my daughter in all her color guard glory. And also, if you just want to volunteer, whether you have, I think, it's always great if you have a student connected, but come volunteer at your school, at your child's school, and get involved. I can't stress this enough, even at the high school level. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Romero?
All right, so started off this first day of school with my hermano Oscar and Holly Hamlet-Soling Tom. They're doing a very good job with the K6 model over there, so I wanted to tip my hat to Oscar over there. Great increase in retention of 6th grade students this year. Also met with Carrie, Principal Carrie at Wheeler, saw their newly paved parking lots, a new parking lot drainage system. Thank you, Bond Committee, on that completed project for over the summer. Also met with Principal Janet Whitmore, toured their school, and it was their first ever fire drill of the school year, and I had the honors to pull the fire alarm. Thank you very much, Jen. I've wanted to do that for years. Met with Principal Brenda at John B. Wright, enjoyed their morning assembly, visited lots of classes, and spent a little extra time in their wonderful preschool classroom. Met with Principal Bill at Banks, great meeting, and a lot of laughs, visited multiple class with Bill. Got to visit and discuss discipline and a whole lot more with Anna Wardenbrandt in their new space at the 1010 building. Met with Principal Josephine at Wakefield and saw the new night mascot mural done by one of our landscape technicians, Speedy, did a phenomenal job in their cafeteria. Great talent of art that we have in our district. And from what I understand, the mural inspired the 8th grade art teacher and students to create more art around their campus. Met with Principal John Lanza and met his great team at Tucson High. While I was there, I actually got to experience a live Centegix medical alert for a student that was having a seizure during PE class. John's phone, as well as other site administration phones, alarm went off. John opened the app immediately, saw exactly where the Centegix badge was activated. They had staff as well as a nurse in motion within seconds of the alert. Calm communication over the radios. School safety was there within 5 minutes or less. Students received services needed. Everything went great. So just to see that live and how it was handled very well in a real life situation, not as a drill. And again, this was in a far part of the campus that they were able to get to in a timely fashion. So I want to thank the staff at Tucson High as well as our security team. Then also when I was there was a tractor trailer delivering part of the new football field school board donated by ICCU Credit Union. And I didn't see the one at Sabino Canyon, but I just got to see the one over here at Tucson High being started. It's going to be, to call it a scoreboard, I don't think it's going to do it justice. Those would be great to see during Friday Night Lights coming up this fall. And finished this morning at Miles Exploratory Learning Center with Principal Emily. visiting her new school, got to celebrate their morning announcements and sat in on a practice mock trial done by their middle school students. I also want to thank our bond committee. We have a new buzz-in entrance there at Miles. Fantastic. It was great to see the security getting in there. And when I left facilities, I saw our landscape team, Speedy and Matthew, doing a great job cleaning up the Miles campus. And that's my report.
Thank you. Dr. Shaw.
Thank you, President Ekstrom. I had a great site visit since the start of the school year at Choya High School. I've been to that campus a number of times, but my first time there during the actual school year day, which was great. And thank you, Principal Miranda, for the tour. We went to a lot of different classrooms, including seeing the Avid in action, and actually got to see the Arabic classroom, which was really neat to see that offered in our district as a language opportunity for our students. We focus a lot of our time there on the CT, like Mr. McCullum mentioned some of the great programs there, from automotive to sports medicine, welding, and more. It was great to see the classrooms and the students engaged, even with internet outage in the district at that time. Also got to meet with a group of students to hear more about how they want their voices heard by the district. So overall, a great tour, a beautiful campus there over on the far west side of TUSD. Before the school year started, I met with Sky Scazzo to learn more about ALE and the work of ALE and the GATE program and all the great work that they're doing and some of the budget issues and changes in the pipeline. We had a number of different audit committee meetings as we were looking for an internal auditor. Unfortunately, we don't have a candidate to recommend, but they'll continue to work to hopefully identify the great candidate for our district in the future. But a lot of great meetings and a lot of prop out to the members of the audit committee who met multiple times over the month of June and July to get that process going and interview a number of candidates. I had a chance to represent TUSD on the Bill Buckmaster Show on 10:30 a.m., talk about the district and some of the things that are going well and the challenges that we're having, and of course talk about the override and the budget issues that we're facing. I had a number of meetings with different folks outside of TUSD to start planning for the future of TUSD, including with NAAC president and their education chair, and meeting with the PCC teachers and cybersecurity, and Ward 4's Nikki Lee to talk more about STEM and technology education for our students in our district, and met with Don Bell, executive director of the Education Enrichment Foundation, EEF, a great organization to support, because almost every money that they raise goes straight to our students and teachers to help support all the work that we're doing here in TUSD. So thank you for all the work that they're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I will be brief. I represented the governing board at Pueblo when Governor Hobbs came to sign HB 2484, and it was really nice to see staff and Pueblo. They were just full of pride, and as they should be. It was a great visit by Governor Hobbs. I also represented the board at the retirement luncheon of Richard Fimbres, council member for Ward 5. I had a meeting with Dr. Carter, Erica Miranda Carter, and Principal Carranza at Ross Scrooge K through 8. It was a bond visit, so I did get to see how Dr. Carter conducts her visits with principals, and it was very useful information for me to take back and to understand how Dr. Carter meets with principals and learns all about the campus and their needs. I also had a bond oversight committee meeting. We also were able to see the new utility trucks that came in, and that utility truck replaces trucks that were purchased in 1993. So it was amazing. And staff is so happy to have these new trucks. I also had an impromptu meeting with Greg Meyer and Juvenal Lopez, and we were discussing HVAC and the situation around the district. I know that some classrooms are very hot, but we are doing the best that we can to get all of those situations rectified. And that concludes my board report. Thank you, governing board members, as well. Next, we'll move on to call to the audience. Dr. Shaw.
Thank you, President Ekstrom. Here we go. Members of the public may speak during the call to the audience. The governing board clerk shall be responsible for recognizing speakers and for maintaining order where it may be appropriate. Those who speak in person or want to have their comments read shall email or call the board office or complete a request to address the board form before, before the meeting. Speakers who have not completed a request form are not permitted to address the board. The speaker must state their full name and topic prior to addressing the board. Speakers are encouraged to be brief with a maximum time of 3 minutes. While more than one speaker may speak together in the time allowed, speakers are reminded that they are not allowed to speak more than once and they may not transfer or delegate their time to others. If there are documents for the board, please give them to the board office staff and they will ensure each board member receives a copy. Those attending the meeting and are speaking before the board shall observe rules of good conduct. Speakers shall also refrain from inappropriate or slanderous remarks. And because TUSD serves students from preschool through high school, speakers should be aware there may be children present and listening. At the end of the call to the audience, the governing board president will ask if any board member wishes to respond to criticism, wish to ask staff to review a matter, or wish to ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. No more than 2 members may address the topic. Contents of this card are public information. We have 3 in person and 1 to be read. We'll start with Dolores de Vera, followed by Lillian Fox, and then Jason Freed.
Guys, come on up. Or stand. Thank you. Good evening, board members and administrators. I'm Dolores de Vera, and I'm here with some of my substitute teacher colleagues. The new school year is well underway, and very soon Tucson voters are going to decide if they want to offer more financial support for our schools. I hear TUSD employees and other residents are excited about this proposal. I'm excited about this proposal because more money to operate this district would give everyone a little breathing room. On the official information website for this override, it outlines something about the teacher raises and how they're going to operate, and then it promises a 4% salary increase to all other employee groups. Now, while the language all other employee groups sounds pretty inclusive, I then remembered the fact that when the all-staff professional development days were announced, you didn't really include subs in the definition of all staff. I remember a time I was sitting in this room and I saw a budget presented where the presenter declared that there was increased compensation for all. Your definition didn't include us. So that's what I'm here to ask today. We're here to ask today. If this override is approved, are we included in the 4% increases on all of our rates, not just shuffling the rates so that the higher paid subs get less and the lower paid subs get more? I want to remind you, in 80 of our schools, we haven't had a rate increase for substitute teaching since 2021. And in 6 schools, we haven't had an increase since 2022. We actually have a few long-term subs who fill a vacancy for an entire year, from day one until the last day of school. Now, previously, those subs were awarded 301 money. It was always a pleasant surprise to them. Last year, they got the email that said, hey, you're going to qualify for 301 money, but when everybody else got the checks, they got an email, or maybe they didn't get an email, but they were just told, sorry, you don't qualify anymore. And so for them, our hardest working subs, long-term subs who were in the classroom for a full year, they kind of got a pay cut. I think all employees deserve to know who is included when you say all employee groups. It needs to be clear what, if anything, we're getting. And I think our general public wants to know that the funding is going to people in the classroom, that that's the priority. We're the lowest paid teachers. So if your answer is that we are included, we do want to get some specifics because sometimes you just shift the money around. If the answer is no, we hope you will tell us so we can take that into account. And if you need time to run the numbers, subs do about 50,000 days a year is what subs work collectively. I think that comes out to about 270 FTE. If you need time to run the numbers, that's fine, but let us know. All employees deserve the right to know if we are in this proposal. Thank you.
Next we have Lillian Fox, followed by Jason Freed.
President Ekstrom, members of the board, Yolanda Barboa, Superintendent Trujillo, and Councilor Ross. First of all, this is not your budget. This is a report that goes to the Department of Education and the Arizona Auditor General. If you look down here, it tells you in yellow who created this. So this is not your budget. Your budget looks like this. The last board meeting, CFO Hernandez told you the budget book was optional. It was just something they did because some long time ago board member asked for it. No, this is your budget. It's been your budget since before he was born. In your packet, I also, and last year you never saw this thing. You never approved it. And guess what? It says adopted, which means you did approve it. Did you know you approved it? And it also has your names on it, although you never saw it. You can't allow staff and the CFO to treat you that way. Your name shouldn't be on it unless you voted for it. Now, for the last 2 years, your finances have kind of been in chaos. There have been a number of mistakes both the last year and this year. I'm just going to focus on this year. If you look at the tables, you already know that there are 990 fewer FTEs in the appendix than there are in the budget book itself. Well, it turns out this report to the state also has a different number of FTEs in it. It doesn't agree with the numbers in your budget. This report to the state is supposed to be done based on your budget. The numbers can't be different. And it's not just the FTEs that are different. That's why they're in red, because they're fewer than in the budget. But the total number of teachers is also different from what's in the budget book. And the total number of teachers in the appendix is also different than what's in the budget. So this is saying, because according to CFO Hernandez, the appendix, what is that? Can you stop the clock, please? Yolanda, please stop the clock. Is that a fire alarm? Is that a fire alarm?
It's Val's fault. We're talking about sending checks.
Just go ahead and start. Okay. This says you have 591 unfilled teacher position. I know you've got unfilled teachers position, but it ain't 591. So the appendix or the budget one is screwed up. If you look down at this table, this is comparing by a school level what the appendix shows for FTEs and what the budget book does. Then you get down to this black number. That says in the appendix the departments have 427 more employees than they were budgeted for. I find that impossible to believe. I think the whole appendix is a problem that needs to be redone. At the last board meeting, Dr. Trujillo claimed that the subs were FTEs. Mr. Hernandez agreed with it and also claimed the coaches were FTEs. Subs are not FTEs. That's why there are the problems that Dolores described. And coaches are never FTEs. They're always shown as allowance and stipends. Rest of the problems are in the book.
Next, we have Jason Freed.
Good evening, board members, President Ekstrom, Superintendent, and General Counsel. My name is Jason Freed, and I've served on a number of committees, task forces, elected positions throughout TUSD and TEA, including having served on a number of bargaining teams and one of the original and maybe the last member of the TUSD Budget Advisory Committee that continues to serve. I'm coming to you tonight out of frustration, questioning why I don't have a new contract for this school year. Having served on so many bargaining teams, the only time that negotiations went into the next school year was about disagreement regarding salary. This leads me to believe that you are contemplating not giving me and my colleagues a permanent raise, despite that it states in our contract that you will do so annually. Adding confusion to my frustration, the TUSD website states that the average teacher salary for this school year will be $62,000. Showing an average pay increase of $5,000, which means a 9% pay raise. I don't understand how I can have a pay freeze as well as a $5,000 pay raise. I also, if you were to do the right thing, making sure to honor the $500 step increase, that'd be closer to a 1% pay raise. Lastly, I've heard Dr. Trujillo say on many occasions that our salary schedule is falling behind neighboring districts. If this is the case, a pay freeze would have us fall further behind, adding compression to the salary schedule and making it all the more challenging to catch up once we pass this override. A pay freeze would cause employees to question how supportive this board and leadership is toward raises, and it's TUSD's employees who are needed to carry the override to victory. I was on the TUSD bond committee, and I am currently on the override committee, so clearly I believe in this work. In both instances, my Saturdays have been occupied convincing voters to support our district. I've spoken to each of you over the years, and I'm happy to discuss this matter in greater detail. I believe in our district, and I believe in you all, the leaders of TUSD, to do the right thing for the employees. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one comment to be read. It's from Barbara Nersessian, substitutes and override. Board members, will subs get a 4% increase on all of our rates if the proposed override passes? In the past, terms like everyone and all do not include substitutes. Sincerely, Barbara Nersessian, TUSD substitute. Ms. Ekstrom, that concludes call to the audience.
Thank you. Would any governing board member like to address any comments that were made during call to the audience? Ms. Ekstrom? Ms. Shaw?
Good evening, everyone. My apologies for being late. My daughter had open house today, so I just ran back from Dodge. And so I unfortunately didn't hear the bulk of the calls to the audience tonight, but yeah, thanks for being here and thanks for speaking out.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. That concludes call to the audience. Next is consent agenda. Approval of items 6.2 to 6.5. Dr. Trio?
We recommend passage of the consent agenda as agendized and presented to the board, items 6.2 to 6.5.
So moved.
Second. The item has been moved by Ms. Luna Rose and seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is item 7.1, administrative appointments, interim chief operations officer, Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, President Extra, members of the governing board, tonight it is the administration's recommendation that Mr. Juvenal Lopez continue to serve as the Chief Operations Officer through the remainder of the semester. As a reminder, Mr. Lopez is serving in that capacity now and has done an absolutely amazing job in the short time that he's occupied the interim role, connecting with all of our operations leadership. So he's our recommendation to continue on for the remainder of the semester.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
The item has been moved by Dr. Shaw and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next is item 7.2, approval to appoint a new member to serve on the Tucson Unified School District Bond Oversight Committee.
Yes, President Ekstrom, as the board's liaison, I just wanted to check in with you to see if you wanted to do the honors, or
Yes, sure.
given your connection to Line Weaver.
Yes, I will motion to approve the appointment of Ms. Lindsay Escalona to serve on the Tucson Unified School District Bond Oversight Committee for a 2-year term that expires on August 26, 2027.
I'll second.
The item has been moved by myself and seconded by Dr. Shaw. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Ms. Escalona, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, President Ekstrom, board members, Dr. Trujillo, Councilor Ross. I'm really excited to serve on this bond committee and advocate for our teachers within the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blue, did you have anything to add? She's here representing the Bond Oversight Committee on Zoom.
Sorry, I couldn't get myself off of mute for a moment there, but if y'all can hear me, yeah, I just wanted to say that we're happy, the Bond Oversight Committee, to welcome Ms. Escalona to the committee with us, and we are looking forward to her contributions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item 7.3, the approval to procure goods and services for quarter 1 and 2 for fiscal year 2025-26 bond project priorities. Dr. Trujillo.
Board members, I'd like to welcome Dr. Charlotte Carter and the bond management team as they present for governing board approval the slate of projects that Bond Oversight Committee is recommending as a focus for the first 2 quarters of the school year. Dr. Carter?
Good evening. I'm so glad to be before you with the board president and also the governing board. So I do want to continue to bring to you more projects because we're going to continue. This is a 10-year bond. We're just getting started. We in $53 million that we spent already. And so now we're going into quarter 1 and quarter 2 of FY 25 and 26. As they have on the screen, these are the projects that have already been approved by the Bond Oversight Committee on August 21st. And we'll start with domestic water line. As you know, this summer we did 3. Well, we want to increase that number. We want to do 6 for this upcoming summer. That would be Cholla, Miller, Mission View, Safford, Saguaro, and Santa Rita. These were selected based on work orders, the Facilities Condition Index, FCI, and the 5-year capital plan. That would be, for those 6 schools, approximately $10,402,000. The next project that we would like to bring before you is furniture and equipment for Pister. And I found out, I run a lot of reports, do a lot of evaluation of what we're doing, and wanted to make sure that we stay equitable with the projects that we're doing, and realized that Pister had not had any bond projects so far. So even though we've been rolling out enterprise projects, most of the schools get covered, but in this particular case, Pister had not. So what I did is looked at the surveys that I did, the principal surveys, looked at the bond book, and we contacted the principal to find out from her what she felt the needs were. And in the bond, she wanted and identified the furniture and equipment. That is a project that we have the capacity to do. It also fits within the $150,000 that's allocated for furniture and equipment. So we wanted to do what's most impactful for the school. So it'll be 330 desks and chairs for $150,000, and it will outfit 11 classrooms. We also wanted to take advantage of getting more schools with the field lighting. And as you know, this environment is changing a lot, tariffs, inflation, and one of the things that we have found is that after December, the lights are going to start going up. So we already have done a number of lights for our high schools, and so I wanted to complete that list. This also meets our climate action and sustainability, so staying in that vein. So for the lights, we would like to do Catalina, Palo Verde, Saguaro, and Santa Rita. For those lights, it'll be $2.4 million. And then lastly, the project that we went before the Bond Oversight Committee was pavement and parking lots. This came to us by a number of ways. The superintendent, we did a bond visit, and the parking lots are deteriorating there. Also, we have safety concerns. And so in doing that, we would like to move up in a higher priority the parking lots. Now, in the bond book, it did not specifically list pavement and parking lots for this school. However, the principal is willing to swap out, so to speak, their shade structures, two of the shade structures, and then if we can get SFD, then we could do a partial between the bond and a partial with the ASFD funding. If we can't get the ASD funding before the time frame of installing it, which we wanted to do this around in the fall break because it's better when you don't have people parking the parking lot, obviously, then we would fund it by both the court shades of $200,000, and then there is also building renovations that's already in the bond book of $225,000. So either way, we can cover it, but we think that these projects are super important to continue what we've already started. We have a contingency of 20%, so in total, it would be $16,113,600. So what I'm asking here tonight, if there are no questions, is a motion to grant authority to the purchasing director in conjunction with the bond program manager, myself, to procure goods and services using approved TUSD and cooperative contracts for the next wave of bond projects, not to exceed the amount plus the 20% contingency where a single purchase may exceed $250,000, or for the cumulative purchase with cooperative contract vendors in excess of $250,000.
Governing board members, are there any questions for Dr. Carter? Dr. Shaw.
Thank you, President Ekstrom, and thank you, Dr. Carter, for being here. I have one request, and then I have a question.
Sure.
So my request is that next, when we come in for the presentations every quarter with the quarter projects, can we get like a total spent information each time, like how much have we spent up to date in the different categories, how much is left for each category, so we can kind of get a sense of where we are, whether it's a thermometer or like a pie chart or something, just to get a sense of how much we've done and how much we've allocated for the bond. I think that would be really helpful information as we keep track of all this over the next couple of years. And my question is, I think a lot of us, are hoping, I'm glad we were able to do some fields and some other things. I know we want to do more like cosmetic projects that really help upgrade our facilities in a cosmetic way, but I know how important it is to do those things like HVACs, which we feel, the parking lots that we see, but these domestic water lines and sewer replacements, can you or Mr. Ballesteros or someone explain exactly like what that is and why it's so important for us to focus on that in our schools and spend so much money on upgrading those systems?
Excellent question. I just want to add on to that because Dr. Shaw is also referencing school facility board eligible projects. And so while we're answering that question about what these are, I think it's also good for the public and the board to know what happens when we have a school facilities board eligible project for funding that we pay for. Do we ever see that money back? Do we proceed in submitting? And whatever comes of that, right? Because that has huge implications on money available for remaining projects.
Okay, I will have Damon and then maybe even Ricky as well, and then I'll sum it up.
Good evening. So in regards to the importance of the sewer and water line, because of the age of the infrastructure, we're having a lot of our sewer and water lines that are beyond their design life. So we have issues similar to what we had last year at the end of the school year at Tucson High, where we had a sewer collapse connecting to a main line. So we're seeing a lot of that because when the age of the infrastructure, the pipes that were installed were basically, back then, they were clay pipes that had a design life of 20 to 25 years. They're now beyond 30, some 40, 50 years. So what we're seeing in the sewer lines is the degradation of the actual structural integrity of the pipes. So we're having more issues with collapsing, similar to what we had at Tucson High. We had one, I believe, at Cragen also. In the water lines, what's happening is, again, very similar. The issue with the pipe material back when these buildings were built, the pipe material was basically steel cast iron pipe. So over time, you get the infiltration basically of the hard water system. So a full line over time, eventually, the calcification inside reduces your amount of water that's coming into the site. So we're noticing that consistently with, low flow water. You see that with areas where, the decoloration in water, because you have the calcification that's built up in these pipes. So it's very important to maintain, because if we continue along not maintaining them, the issue becomes now we're being reactive instead of proactive. And we get into instances like at Tucson High where we had a full collapse. We had to shut down portions of the main building with no sewer because the line collapsed not only on our side, but also on the city's line right by the bus stop. So that's really the biggest importance on us really addressing these. Obviously, our infrastructure is not getting, younger, it's getting older. So the cost benefit no longer is a linear relationship to the investment made, because we've, haven't invested in a long time. We're now looking at a logarithmic relationship. So the longer we wait, the more apt and prone we are going to be for these emergencies that happen throughout the site. In regards to the State Facilities Department, so we consistently apply for state funding and building renewal grants, as well as on the pavement and parking through adjacent ways. We make our presentations to the State Facilities Department once every week. We have a meeting with our liaison, and we present these literally on a weekly basis. The key component is the State Facilities Department has a $200 million budget for their fiscal year. That's allocated for all districts statewide. For the last 4 years, they've run out of money in December. So we try to be in front of that and get as many projects during the summer allocated, ready for July 1, so that when the books do open up at the state, our projects get funded. An example of this year and what's happened, like I said, over the last 4 is the state basically begins to queue up those projects as they add up throughout the year. So when July 1 hits, whichever projects were already in queue, those are the ones that get funded first. And we were fortunate this year, we already had close to $11 million of BRG funding, whether that's emergency funds, building renewal, cooling towers, HVAC units, and as well state facilities through our Adjacent Ways program. So we try to be as proactive as possible to really extend the bond dollars as much as possible we can, utilizing the state funds, knowing that it's a challenge because every year they run out of that $200 million usually before the year's end. So we try to continually put our projects in because the beginning of the school year and their fiscal is July 1, those projects are the ones that really get funded. So that is the big key.
Dr. Trujillo?
Yeah, so as an example, right, multi-million-dollar commitments on our end to deal with domestic water line at Palo Verde, and then we had to do it again at Rincon UHS, which displaced the band. So in those examples where the school facilities board is either running out of money or they're so slow, we're coughing up the money. So my question then is, if they run out of money, we continue to submit those project requests the following year to see if we can get the reimbursement.
That is correct.
Correct, okay. And sometimes those reimbursements don't come for a few years, as we've seen with some of our roofing projects that we've had to deal with over the last couple of years.
That is correct. And a recent example of that would be Sabino water line that we recently did. So there was a delay in getting our permit from the Arizona State Fire Marshal. So it was good and bad. So we had submitted a BRG for the state, and they were going to cover approximately $900,000 of that cost for the water line. Because they did not have funding when we approached them for this, because it was on the back end of their fiscal year, the good piece was the state fire marshal took so long to give us an approval. We didn't have it till the 1st of July. Well, the good part of that is that's the new budget cycle for the state. So we had initially, through the bond, Dr. Carter presented that to be paid out fully by the bond. Well, now we're working with the state to have them pay that $900,000 to save that money on the bond side. That's a recent example of that.
And if I can just say, Dr. Carter had Sabino's principal and Catalina's principal come and give a presentation to the committee. And Sabino was saying how he just turned the water on after the completion of the water line, and he said he could smell clean water. It was something that they hadn't had in a very long time. And at Catalina, they had no issues with their restrooms. So the things that we did over the summer were really impactful to those schools.
Yes. Thank you.
Dr. Trujillo?
We continue with Dr. Carter. I'll also say, like, we have a couple of areas around the district now that are, we're dealing with school facilities board. So I know we've got some staff members from Lineweaver here, and that library has been a big problem, getting the school facilities board to provide us the funding. So now we're at a place where we're going to know in a couple of days, and it's going to be a situation where we'll just buy it. And then we're going to have to count on waiting for a reimbursement to come in. So that's one of many where you're trying to wait for the school facilities board. You have employees that are just in tough conditions, and we're making the effort to try to get the funding from the state. But as we've learned with the Lineweaver library situation and what we're seeing with a couple of other spots, there comes a point where you just have to buy it and just keep trying to get that reimbursement going. So we're really going to work hard on that. And then also, from the administration's perspective, we also recognize that we publicize our slate of projects, we have our calendar, especially with regard to HVAC, but sometimes you have to move a school up because its equipment is in a state of active failure. And so we want to be very clear that when we approach the Bond Oversight Committee, we have a school that's in that situation now where its HVAC installation is scheduled for January, but it's actively failing now. And literally daily, we have to deal with classrooms, we have to deal with buildings. So we're going to start using that as a criteria and make a case to Bond Oversight. Like, hey, we're not trying to favor one school community over another. It just happens to be that this school is already slated for an HVAC installation in January, but it's going down now. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear with our school communities and our public that we're going to start exercising some of that flexibility when we make those recommendations to BOC.
Yes. Ms. Shaw?
Thank you for your presentation. And what Dr. Trujillo said is what I wanted to touch base on. Like, I see, I know we need a new pavement at certain schools, but prioritizing the issues that we're having now in our schools, like the HVAC at Lineweaver, and so many other schools who are impacted by faulty AC systems. I would like to see, I don't know if we need more communication with the Bond Oversight Committee to make sure that, like, when we are approving projects, that they're relevant to what's happening now. Because it's hot, and I don't want to see any heat-related illnesses at our school sites. And on that same vein, if there is an issue with a bond project that's already completed, it's installed, but we're finding that there's issues such as Dodge's new HVAC unit. I know they've had issues with it this year. Like, what can we do? Like, are we, I guess, looking at the contractor that we've used or wherever we're purchasing it so that when we do make a huge investment, we know that the system is going to work?
So I think initially what we're asking the schools is to make sure that they call it in and get a work order for it so we can make sure that it's actually logged and documented. But if we do see that we having trends with a particular contractor, that definitely would be taken under consideration.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Romero?
All right, going back to reimbursements or hoping we're getting a reimbursements. So realistically, percentage-wise, or what is the probability really that we're going to get reimbursed for some of these things that we're putting the money out on the table for, realistically?
Well,
Reimbursement, you'll hear the abbreviation BRG. That means Building Renewal Grant. That means that a project, so when we say BRG, we just got approval for a reimbursement or an initial disbursement of funds to complete projects. So Rick, if you can talk about that, that would be great.
So when when the operations department submits a BRG to the school facilities division, they're actually having the conversation with them to try to make sure that there's a commitment of funds, right? So we won't move forward with spending dollars from within our pocket, essentially, whether it's bond or another source of funding, until there is some commitment from SFD to say, yeah, the project looks good, or we actually get a final confirmation from the SFD through the application portal to ensure that we know how much money is coming. So for example, the Tolson parking lot, 60% of it is going to be covered by SFD, right? So we know that ultimately the bond is going to front 100%. We'll reimburse the bond for that 60%, and then everybody's kind of square. Unfortunately, the way BRGs work is they're all reimbursement basis. So we have to do all the spending, and we have to go into cash deficit, so we have to pay from our own funding before SFD essentially cuts a check or sends a wire for the money. Sometimes we're doing it bond-wise or whatever, but we will reimburse the bond if they're front-loading, essentially.
So just kind of looking future stuff, say we have something coming up closer to the end of the bond, we're using our money for there. Money comes in after our bond is complete. Can that money still be used for our bond stuff because we used our bond money beforehand to upfront these other costs?
Yeah, if we're essentially reimbursing the bond program, so let's say that Tolson parking lot is $400,000, they're going to pay 60%. So we'll reimburse the bond program $240,000. That's another $240,000 that technically the bond never spent that can now be allocated to some other project down the road. When we get rebates, it's different. So I know one of the things that are starting to come in is a lot of these HVAC units are starting to generate rebates through a lot of energy efficiency. That money cannot go back to the bond. That money has to go to debt service to pay. So it just depends on what that source of revenue, but specific to your case, yeah, it'll come right back to the bond to offset, make a little bit more wiggle room for other projects.
Okay, and I know talking the infrastructure on some of these domestic water line replacements, and I'm just looking at it from just say like principals, teachers, students, are parents of students at different schools, like Miller Elementary. They're listed for their domestic line replacement, but on their list, you know, some of their things for health and security, it talks about security gates and fencing, security camera systems, new intercom systems, you know, fire alarm systems, new smoke heads, you know, exterior gate hardware. I'm just looking at it from an optics point of view when parents and people in their community see like security and fencing and, you know, these other things I've mentioned, but we go into the water line replacement. And again, I understand the infrastructure, but now I'm just looking at the optics when they say, why are we not putting our children's safety first, putting security gates and fencing versus fixing the water line? Because I know when I go to the school, they're asking me that question.
Yeah, thanks for that question. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going in front. One of the things that so there's a track with the, you know, the 32 of the security gates and fencing, but we also have the domestic water line. With this having, 1,700 projects, I have to do things simultaneously. I can't just wait and do all one thing. I have to be constantly rolling out projects. So for example, one of the things that we're looking at doing, and the reason why I'm coming early and now for the domestic water line, because I have to shut down schools. When I shut down schools, it's good to do the fencing, some of the other things, because I don't have staff to worry about, I don't have students to worry about. So what I'll be presenting to the BOC after we know what those schools are for domestic water lines for the summer are other projects, as well as we getting ready to have the RFP about the security and safety. So we can go ahead and do, you know, the door camera access, because I don't have students there. So I'm thinking that is to packaging several different projects at the same time. So when they come back, then they may have and it depends, you know, on the school and what their needs are, security gates and fencing, paint, you know, several of the other things. So I have to run it simultaneously, but I also have an opportunity, if we're doing domestic water lines, to do a whole bunch of other projects all at the same time, because I don't have students and staff on campus, if that makes sense.
No, and it makes great sense to do those types of things. Like I said, we did have some great bond projects that were completed during the summer, and I greatly appreciate, you know, the bond committee taking care of those things. So kind of also on, you know, so that answers that question. Another question as far as the big picture, the total game plan. Do we have something that spans out, you know, from when we started the full 10 years to kind of see what everything encompasses? So we kind of have a guide on where some of these things are. I know Dr. Trujillo said, you know, we have a certain school that, you know, failing air conditioning systems, you know, and that might have to get whatever the criteria is to move these things on up. I just want to know, do we have that roadmap from, you know, California to Florida these 10 years versus we start in California, okay, let's just look at the map of Arizona for this next year, and then next year we'll look at New Mexico. So do we have a master plan in place?
So currently, I haven't planned all 1,700 projects for 10 years. What we're doing is chunks. 3 to 5 years is what I'm doing. And we met just today, right, with our partner that's Veritech, for them to give us the assessments. That's really super important, to get those assessments and them giving that data so I can make sure I'm planning the right thing at the right time. And so I'm using some of the information from our consultant to be part of that. So I can make sure that the HVAC, that the security, all of these things are happening at the right time. So I don't want to do 10 years like automatically, because a lot changes in 10 years. As you guys know, technology changes, the environment changes, but I'm in the process of that 3 to 5 year plan. And part of that plan is being able to know what schools am I shutting down for the domestic water line so I can do all those other groups of projects. So that's in the works, and working with the consultant, because they have the subject matter expertise to help us make sure that we know what are the HVAC systems, what are those systems, the domestic water line that we need to be focused on, so we can make sure that our high priorities are handled first.
Is there something that we can get to the board of this preliminary 3, 4, 5 year situation? Just because, again, when we visit with schools and they go to their website and they pull up their bond things, and we understand the priority list, but at least we have something where they have an idea, or we get the loud voices from a certain school, and then everything turns into an emergency because they figured, they don't know where they're at, and there's a big, we don't know when we're going to get anything for our schools because there's nothing listed. And some of the things I hear, like I was at one school recently, she goes, I came here, there was people putting the safety screen on my glass, no calls, no nothing, they just kind of showed up before the school even opened. Again, the lack of communication that school had with that. I would just like to see something out there so the board has an idea what projects are coming up, so we can be more prepared. At least I would like to be more prepared when I talk to principals and PTO people and parents.
And all that is in the works, and also even some of the things that Dr. Trio has me working on for principal communication. So well aware that we need to have that, but I want to make sure that I have correct data, because what I don't want to do is put stuff out there and then have to come back and say, well, that was not good information. So it's in the works. We're right at, I've been here, I think, 16 months. And so we've done $53 million worth of projects, but I'm wanting to make sure data is really important for data driven. And when I'm ready with the first draft, BLC and the governing board for us to look and review.
Do we have a estimated time that we're looking for to have this?
Yeah, for the first, I believe definitely at the end of the calendar year semester. It kind of depends. We're working with the contractor, which we have them in place, Veritech, that they're going and doing those assessments. So I want to get that data first and then give the first draft after we get the data.
Okay. Well, I definitely would like to make sure that we put that as a priority when that information becomes available, to get it to the board as soon as possible, Dr. Trio.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Trujillo?
This area that I've been working with the bond team and that I've asked them to really focus on this year is principal communication. So Dr. Carter, to her credit, showed me a really cool draft that we'll probably unveil here publicly, and that'll be piloted first in a few schools, where using a portal and a project management organization program called Smart Sheets, principals will be able to see on any device where every single project is on their campus, who's working on what, who's the contact person. They'll just be able to open it up. If there are any delays, multiple people will be on chats to be able to bring people into the loop. And it's going to take away a lot of the unknown in terms of when workers are going to be on campus, or if there's a delay, or if we have to do something differently, what's been approved, when's the calendar schedule. So this is something I think is going to bring a lot of clarity to the whole, when is the stuff going to happen on my campus, or I didn't know that these workers were going to be here. As Dr. Carter talked about, a lot of these larger projects, it's a delicate balance between making sure that things are installed as quickly as possible, but then also minimizing intrusiveness on the operations of school. Like when you're doing domestic water line work or HVAC work, the whole school has to go down. So it's tricky. It's a tricky balance, and I think that the Smart Sheets approach is going to help everybody be on the same page.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to note, attending that meeting with you at Ross Scrooge, a lot of principals didn't have input because the survey was done way before the bond was approved. So Principal Carranza was a prime example. She had come in after her predecessor had made recommendations. And, a few years later, those recommendations have shifted and changed. So that's why it's important for Dr. Carter to do those principal meetings. And it was good for me to see, as the bond liaison, her do that and see how priorities change. So that's how maybe this pavement parking lot at Tolson, that's their priority now. And then Dr. Carter did explain that having campus closed for the domestic water lines and sewer replacements really was the best practice. And so that's why they want to do, you know, these next set of schools during the summer. So that's why they're doing it now. But I do have a question. How does the water line and sewer replacements, does that affect neighboring households at all?
No,
Okay.
I'm pretty certain it doesn't. No, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Romero?
So, Dr. Carter, I just wanted to tell you thank you. I've been to a lot of schools recently where they have told me you've come out to visit with them, walk with them, find out their needs, take good notes, and be very present with them. So just hearing that, you know, from other people within the district, I wanted to say thank you on behalf of, you know, me as well as our principals that have mentioned that. So thank you.
Ms. Luna Rose?
Hi, Dr. Kerr. I just wanted to say, all my colleagues have pretty much asked all the questions I was going to ask, but I just want to say I really appreciate the social media presence you're having right now with all the projects. Your team is on it, and I think that's a good way for the public to see what is happening in real time. So I wanted to commend you on that, and I would also like to move the item.
I'll second. The item has been moved by Ms. Luna Rose and seconded by myself. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Carter.
Thank you so much.
Next is item 7.4, review, approve, and adopt the 2025-26 employee agreement and non-bargaining employees. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, governing board members, I'm going to ask our Director for Employee Relations, Maricela Mesa, to make herself at home because she's going to be up here for 7.4 all the way through 7.9. Combination of extensions of agreements, adoption of new agreements for the upcoming school year, and some compensation-related memorandums of agreement. Ms. Mesa?
Thank you. For the non-bargaining agreements and the Eli agreement, and there weren't substantive changes to the agreements. We update positions and fix anything that was a mistake or needed to be clarified. And so that's provided today. So we're asking for approval of the non-bargaining agreement and the Eli agreement. I can go through the others too. So then there's an extension. I just want to make sure, are we hearing all the items right now? The bundle?
Let's see, does governing board members have questions on this item?
I'll move it.
I'll second. The item has been moved by Dr. Shaw and seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Next is item 7.5. Review, approve, and adopt 2025-26 meet and confer agreements for Eli, administrators, psychologists, research project managers between Tucson Unified School District and the educational leaders, Eli.
Thank you. So for this item, we don't have substantive changes, and we're working through compensation through another item.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
The item has been moved by Dr. Shaw and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item 7.6 is review, approve the memorandum of agreement between TEA consensus agreement changes for counselors coverage and elementary combination classes with the authorization of the Director of Employee Relations to execute the agreement.
Thank you, President Ekstrom. Jim Byrne was here, but he had to leave for a childcare issue. He's in full agreement with this. We've done this MOA for 3 years in a row, and it's just if there's a situation where a site finds himself with a counselor who maybe is on leave or is no longer with the district, just providing some monies for coverage.
I'll move the item.
I'll second. The item has been moved by Ms. Luna Rose and seconded by myself. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item 7.7 is review and approve the memorandum of agreement 2025-26 education Eli agreement changes for K-6 principals with authorization for the Director of Employee Relations to execute the agreement.
Thank you. President Ekstrom here. What happened is in 24-25, we had 10 elementary schools go from elementary to a K-6 format. In the Eli agreement, we have the elementary schedule and we have the K-8 schedule, but we didn't have a K-6 schedule at the time. So we always knew we needed to address the K-6 schedule. We are coming forward with it now. It's not as much as the K-8, but it's a little more than the elementary. What we're doing for the year that we did not have the salary schedule in place is giving them a one-time payment, almost as back pay for that year that they did not receive the K-6 salary.
Mr. Romero.
So is this going to be on a year-to-year type of a basis, or are we going to be implementing this in our, I guess, the permanent schedule?
It will become a permanent schedule for K-6, and the one-time payment is just the one time for this year.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move the item. I'll second. The item has been moved by Ms. Luna Rose and seconded by myself. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 7.8 is the extension of the 24-25 TEA consensus agreement between TUSD and TEA.
Thank you, President Ekstrom. So Mr. Byrne was here, and we were both going to talk about how we have been working on trying to finalize everything involved with consensus and white-collar agreements, which include compensation. We know we would have wanted these done by June 30th, asked for an extension at that time, and here we are again. We are very focused on getting this resolved.
Governing board members, any questions?
I'll move the item.
Second.
The item has been moved by Ms. Luna Rose and seconded by Ms. Shaw. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 7.9 is the extension of the 24-25 TEA white collar and food service agreement between TUSD and TEA.
President Ekstrom, same thing. The bargaining meetings that we have with TA consensus are also simultaneous with TEA white collar food service.
Governing board members, any questions? I'll move the item.
I'll second.
The item has been moved by myself and seconded by Ms. Luna Rose. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Trio.
Maricela, for your work on this. And as we close out the TEA agreements, I know we had the associated memorandum of understanding regarding counselor coverage. Just a little announcement. We strongly encourage principals not to assign sub-duties to counselors. It's only in emergency situations. We make every effort to secure a daily or a long-term sub. So the agreement is just in the event that there's an emergency, we also want to make sure that we're compensating them fairly. So don't want anybody to think that that is a common practice. So appreciate that.
Thank you. Item 9.1, future meeting dates and agenda items. Dr. Trio?
Yes, President Ekstrom, members of the governing board. So for the month of September, because our observance of the Jewish holidays, we're going to be having back-to-back meetings on September 9th and September 16th. So coming up on September 9th, the governing board will have a discussion and approve of its expenditure priorities to be assigned to the Budget Advisory Committee, which will get started on its work. We also hope to have tri-advocates either at the September 7th, the September 9th, or the September 16th meeting to give you an executive overview of the legislative wrap-up and then begin the discussion for the board to give your lobbyist direction on areas of advocacy for the upcoming session. And then we certainly expect that we'll have a compensation agreement for the board to review and consider at the September 9th governing board meeting. And of course, we're looking forward to another amazing performance from one of our, or demonstration from one of our CTE programs on the docket for September 9th.
Governing board members, any other discussion? If not, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.